Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into something pretty epic this time, Beowulf.
Ah, yes. Beowulf, the big one.
The granddaddy of English lit, the OG epic poem. Longest surviving one in Old English, to be precise.
Right. Not talking Angelina Jolie here, though. That was a visual feast in its own way, I guess.
Yeah, I'll give you that. But we've got a stack of study guides here, historical context, literary analysis, even threw in some Old English grammar for good measure.
Had to. Can't really understand Beowulf without wrestling with that language a bit.
True enough. But for me, I'm really drawn to the cultural stuff. Like, what does this poem tell us about how the Anglo-Saxons saw the world? What did they value? What scared the heck out of them?
All good questions. And I think what makes Beowulf so fascinating, even after all these centuries, is that it gives us a window into a world that's both completely foreign and strangely familiar. You know, their values, their fears, it's all there in the poem.
Yeah, it's like a time machine back to, what, like 700 to 750 A.D.?
Somewhere in that range. It's hard to pinpoint the exact date. Anglo-Saxon England, a time of a lot of upheaval after the Roman Empire had collapsed. But the poem itself isn't set in England, is it?
Nope. Across the sea in Scandinavia, Denmark, Geatland, that's part of modern-day Sweden, right?
You got it. And here's something that just blows my mind. For centuries, Beowulf wasn't a written text. It was oral tradition passed down from bard to bard.
Wow. Talk about pressure. Remembering all those lines, all the details, all the crazy kenning.
Exactly. But luckily, someone finally wrote it down. And that single manuscript is in the British Museum today, like the literary holy grail.
I bet that manuscript has some stories to tell. So the poem kicks off. We meet King Hrothgar of the Danes. He's built this incredible mead hall, Harrod.
Harrod's more than just a party palace, though. It's like the ultimate symbol of civilization, you know? Warmth, light, community, feasting, all that good stuff.
Okay, I'm getting the warm, fuzzy feeling, but then bam, enter Grendel.
The party crasher from hell. This terrifying monster who terrorizes Heorot and the Danes for 12 long years. Why a mead hall, though? I mean, was he just hungry, or is there something deeper going on?
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Some scholars think he represents, like the forces of chaos, you know, everything that threatens human society and order.
Right. He's like this embodiment of the darkness and danger that the Anglo-Saxons saw lurking out there in the wilderness. And there's also this theory that links him to Cain from the Bible, the first murderer cursed to wander the earth.
Ooh, interesting. So already we're seeing this blend of pagan and Christian ideas.
Yeah, Beowulf is full of that. It reflects this period where the Anglo-Saxons were converting to Christianity, but still very much grappling with their older pagan beliefs. It's a really fascinating mix.
So how do you stop a monster like Grendel? Enter our hero Beowulf, the ultimate warrior from Geatland. He hears about Hrothgar's problem and decides to sail across the sea and deal with it.
He's like, hold my meat, I got this.
Right? He's not messing around. And get this, he even vows to fight Grendel unarmed. No sword, no shield, just bare hand and a whole lot of courage. Or maybe a whole lot of crazy.
We do both, maybe. But remember, this is a culture where reputation is everything. Beowulf wants to prove he's the strongest, bravest warrior around, and what better way to do that than take down a monster with your bare hands?
Yeah, it's a serious power move. But before he gets his chance with Grendel, he has to deal with Unferth, this jealous Danish warrior who challenges him to a swimming contest. In full armor. Talk about taking things personally.
Unferth is kind of a jerk, yeah. But this episode isn't just some random dude bro competition. It foreshadows Beowulf's incredible abilities.
Okay, how so?
Well, he not only wins, he survives a fight with sea monsters while he's down there. It shows he's not just strong and skilled, he's got this almost supernatural resilience. Plus, you have to remember, physical prowess was everything in this culture. So this swimming match was a way for Beowulf to prove he could dominate even in Unferth's element.
All right, so the big night arrives. Everyone's huddled in Heorot, probably feeling like they're in a horror movie, just waiting for Grendel to show up. What's going through Beowulf's mind at this point, do you think?
I mean, here's the thing. He's surprisingly calm. He even places his trust in God.
Another Christian influence.
Exactly. But he's also a master strategist. He's not just waiting around hoping for the best. He's got a plan.
And then, bam, Grendel bursts in, ready to tear the place apart.
It was a scene straight out of a nightmare. But Beowulf is ready. He leaps into action, and what follows is this brutal, hand-to-hand fight. No fancy weapons, no magic, just raw strength and a will to win.
And Beowulf, of course, wins, rips Grendel's arm clean off.
Talk about a decisive victory. But it's more than just a physical triumph. By defeating Grendel, Beowulf isn't just protecting the Danes, he's upholding the values of civilization itself. You know, pushing back the forces of chaos and darkness. It's symbolic.
Yeah, heavy stuff. So, party in Heorot that night, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah. The mead is flowing, the bards are singing, everyone's celebrating Beowulf as the ultimate hero.
But We all know happy endings are usually just a setup for the next problem, right? And in Beowulf, that problem has a name, and it's Grendel's mother.
Uh-oh. Mama's coming for revenge.
And she is not messing around.
Nope. She's even more terrifying than Grendel. She's like this primal force of nature, fueled by grief and rage.
She attacks Herod and kills Escher, one of Hrothgar's closest friends and advisors.
This adds a whole other layer to the conflict. You know, it's not just about monsters and meat halls anymore. It's about loyalty, vengeance, those deep bonds that hold communities together.
So Beowulf's got to do something. And before he sets off to face Grendel's mother, King Hrothgar gives him this incredible gift. A jeweled torque, right?
Yes, this gorgeous, intricate necklace.
Now, to me, that seems like just some fancy bling, but I get the feeling there's more to it than that.
Oh, absolutely. In Anglo-Saxon cultures, gift-giving was a huge deal. It wasn't just about the material value. It was about solidifying alliances, showing gratitude, reinforcing social hierarchies.
So by accepting this torque, Beowulf's basically making a promise to Hrothgar, right? Like, I've got your back.
Exactly. It's like a sacred bond, and it shows how much Hrothgar trusts and respects Beowulf.
Okay, so Beowulf takes this fancy necklace and heads off to face Grendel's mother. Where does she even live, by the way?
It's described as this eerie underwater lair, like a cave at the bottom of a lake, a place of shadows and secrets, almost like a descent into the underworld.
Sounds delightful. And of course, it doesn't go smoothly, does it?
Not exactly. Beowulf's trusty sword, hunting, fails him down there. Can you imagine the pressure? You're facing this monstrous creature, your weapon breaks, you're basically underwater.
Yeah, my fight-or-flight response would be kick it in big time.
But Beowulf, he's resourceful. He finds this giant sword, maybe wielded by giants in some forgotten age, and uses it to behead Grendel's mother.
Another close call, another victory for Beowulf. He returns to Herod a hero, loaded with treasure and glory.
And probably ready for a long nap. But as we all know, this is Beowulf, and there's always another challenge waiting around the corner.
Okay, so Beowulf sails back home to Geatland, becomes king, rules wisely for years. You'd think he'd be ready to, hang up his sword, maybe relax a bit.
Yeah, you'd think so, right? Enjoy the spoils of victory. But this is Beowulf, and peaceful retirements aren't really in the cards.
Nope, because guess what shows up? A dragon.
Oh yeah, the dragon, the final boss.
Seriously, why end the poem this way? Beowulf's already proven himself like 1,000 times over.
Well, I think this last part of Beowulf is about more than just a monster fight. It's about aging, legacy, what it means to be a hero when you're not young and invincible anymore.
Okay, so tell me about this dragon. Why is it so ticked off?
Well, picture this. The dragon is guarding this ancient hoard of treasure buried deep inside a barrow, and one of Beowulf's own men, thinking he can get away with it, steals a jeweled cup from that hoard.
Ooh, bad idea. Dragons are notoriously possessive about their treasure, right?
You said it. And this theft basically lights the dragon's fuse. He goes ballistic, unleashes fiery chaos all over Geatland.
So Beowulf's got to step up even though he's, in his 70s at this point?
Something like that. He's definitely not the young warrior who took on Grendel, but he feels this sense of duty, of responsibility to protect his people.
You think there's a part of him that also wants to prove he's still got it? Still the big man, even in his old age.
Oh, I definitely think that's in play. Remember how much Beowulf cares about his reputation, about how he'll be remembered?
Yeah, he wants to go down in history as the ultimate hero.
Exactly. And facing this fire-breathing dragon, even when he knows the odds aren't in his favor, it's like his last chance for glory.
But this time, it doesn't go so well for Beowulf, does it?
No, this fight is different. Even with his experience, his strength, Beowulf just can't match the dragon's fury. It's this brutal reminder that everyone, even heroes, eventually succumb to time.
So he's losing. Badly.
And it's heartbreaking, right? This mighty warrior who's overcome so much, now facing his own mortality. But here's where things get interesting. There's another character who steps up in this final battle.
You mean Wiglaf, the young warrior who stands by Beowulf when everyone else runs for their lives?
The one and only. And he's such a contrast to the Beowulf we've seen so far. Less boastful, less driven by glory.
Yeah, Wiglaf seems more about, doing the right thing, even when it's scary.
He embodies loyalty in its purest form, doesn't care about fame or treasure, just about standing by his king, upholding his oaths. And he even calls out the other warriors for abandoning Beowulf, reminds them what it really means to be a warrior, to have honor.
Wow. Tough words.
And incredibly powerful coming from this younger warrior. He's carrying the torch, embodying the values that Beowulf himself seemed to have forgotten a bit.
So, in a way, Wiglaf is the real hero of this final battle.
He's definitely the one we're meant to admire. His courage, his loyalty, it inspires Beowulf to keep fighting, even in his final moments.
And they do manage to kill the dragon, right?
Together, they take it down, but it's a bittersweet victory because
Beowulf dying. He's won, but at a terrible cost.
Exactly. And with his dying breath, he passes on his wisdom, his treasure, to Wiglaf, basically entrusting him with the future of Geatland. It's this powerful moment of transition, of the next generation stepping up.
So even in death, Beowulf is thinking about legacy, about what he's leaving behind.
It's everything to him, right? To be remembered as a hero, as a great king. But Beowulf also makes us think about the complexities of legacy, how it's not always what we expect.
Yeah, he gets the fame, the stories, but it's also a bit tragic, you know. He could have lived a long life, maybe even died peacefully in his sleep, but instead he gets caught up in this final battle, all because of a stolen cup.
It makes you wonder, right? Was it worth it? Was that treasure, that need to reclaim what was stolen, worth sacrificing his life for? Or was there a part of him that couldn't let go, that always needed to prove himself?
Yeah, those are some deep questions. I'm starting to realize that Beowulf is more than just a monster story. It's about ambition, responsibility, the things we leave behind, what we're willing to die for.
And that's what makes it so enduring. It forces us to grapple with these big questions, even after all these centuries.
It's kind of ironic, right? Beowulf's this legendary hero, but in that last fight, he's almost overshadowed by Wiglaf.
I know. It's interesting how that dynamic plays out, isn't it? Wiglaf really becomes the embodiment of everything a true warrior should be. He's not afraid to stand up to those other guys to remind them of their oaths.
Yeah, it's a powerful moment. He's basically saying, look, this is what loyalty means. This is what honor demands.
Exactly. And it's coming from someone so much younger, someone who could have easily run away with the rest of them. But he chooses to stay, to fight alongside his king, even when all seems lost.
It's a pretty stark contrast to the Beowulf we see earlier in the poem, always boasting about his strength, his victories.
Yeah, Wiglaf's heroism is quieter, more about action than words. And that's part of what makes him such a compelling character. He doesn't need the glory, the recognition. He's driven by something deeper, something more selfless.
And Beowulf seems to recognize that, doesn't he? In those final moments, he entrusts Wiglaf with everything. His kingdom, his treasure, his legacy. It's like a passing of the torch.
It's a beautiful moment, and I think it speaks to the idea that true heroism isn't just about individual strength or accomplishment. It's about inspiring others, about passing on those values that make a society strong and resilient.
So in a way, Beowulf is also a story about mentorship, about the relationship between a seasoned warrior and the younger generation that will eventually take his place.
Absolutely, and it's a reminder that even the greatest heroes have things to learn, even in their final days. Beowulf may have been the legendary warrior, the dragon slayer, but Wiglaf reminds him of the deeper meaning of heroism, of loyalty, and self-sacrifice.
It makes you wonder if Beowulf ever regrets going after that dragon. I mean, he could have lived out his days peacefully as king, surrounded by his people, but instead he chooses one last battle, and it ultimately costs him his life.
That's the question that haunts the ending of Beowulf, isn't it? Was it all worth it? Was the treasure, the glory, worth the sacrifice? Or was there a part of him that couldn't resist that final challenge, that one last chance to prove himself?
Maybe he felt like he owed it to his people, to protect them from this fiery menace. Or maybe, like you said before, it was about his legacy. He wanted to go out in a blaze of glory, ensuring that his name would live on forever.
It's a complex issue, and Beowulf doesn't give us any easy answers. It leaves us to grapple with those questions ourselves, to think about what motivates our heroes, what drives them to make the choices they do.
Well, I think one thing's for sure, Beowulf is a story that stays with you. It's full of these epic battles and larger-than-life characters, but it also delves into these deeper themes of heroism, mortality, the burdens of leadership, and the weight of legacy.
And that's what makes it a timeless masterpiece, isn't it? It speaks to us across the centuries, forcing us to confront our own ideas about what it means to be human, to face our fears, to strive for greatness, and to grapple with the inevitability of our own mortality.
I know I'll never look at Beowulf the same way again. You've given me so much to think about. I'm already wanting to go back and reread certain passages just to see what else I can uncover.
That's the beauty of these classic works. There's always something new to discover, something that resonates differently depending on your own experiences and perspectives. And hopefully this deep dive has inspired you to do just that, to pick up Beowulf, whether in its original Old English or a modern translation, and embark on your own journey of discovery.
Well said. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this epic adventure. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into the world of literature, so stay tuned.
Until then, happy reading, everyone.